Hi, this is Ryan at Disruptarian Media. It's the 23rd of January 2017, a couple days after these protests, the Women's March, and the inauguration of Donald Trump. So a lot of things are buzzing on social media, and I try to keep up with it, especially with people that I know and I'm acquainted with fairly well. This person, I've known since she was a preteen. I lived with her family, and I know her pretty well. I've known her for over 20 years, and I've noticed things disappear in the past, and I've asked her. She's like, no, I don't delete anything. So I feel pretty comfortable posting on these, on these threads that sometimes are very political, and apparently, she wants a response. She gets a lot of back and forth with people, and including me. I go back and forth with her on these things. Well, during this conversation, she called my facts fake, and another person said that they were bullshit. So I'm not sure what their first response was. This person here, and I'm going to blank out their names because on YouTube you can't use people's real names without getting YouTube violations. So I'm going to blank everybody's names out or blur them out. And they were complaining about how Trump got less votes than Hillary or whatever. And I said, good point. And in comparison, Trump got about 20 more people to vote for him than Bill Clinton got when he was elected. Bill Clinton got 44,909,806 votes. When he was elected, Donald Trump got 62,979,879 votes. People say, oh yeah, well, Hillary got more. There is so much more to that statement that meets the eye. But Jill Stein's recount in just the small sample of counties that were audited showed massive DNC voter fraud where more people voted in those counties than had voters. And that's a fact. You can look it up. In fact, I'll post a link here in the bottom corner. This guy, the next guy says, bullshit. And I laughed. I said, ROFL. Said, I've easily proven everything I've said here. I'm 110% confident in my facts. And then my friend, one that I told you, I lived with her family. I knew her. I've known her for over 20 years. She says, your facts usually seem more like an opinion piece. You have a right to your opinion, but it does not make them facts. And I said, I would be happy to learn where I have went wrong. However, my blog is opinions.clovistar.com. I do cite all of my sources. I mean, I wrote this piece tonight, and I cited all of my sources for the data using credible studies. And this is about privilege and, male privilege and such. And I'll show you that graphic that I made, and the article is linked on it. Actually, I can just pull it up right here because it makes good points, and I backed everything up with credible information. And so I posted on male privilege, and I cited that 33% of male boys will be sexually mutilated without their consent this year. Many studies say 58%. I just went with the, least because I wanted to be in a safe zone and not produce something exaggerated. So I used the 33%, which is the lowest number I've found of male circumcisions in the United States. But most studies, including government studies, say it's 58% of boys in the United States are circumcised, or in other words, sexually mutilated without their consent. And I said males will still be at risk to be drafted for war in the USA. Females won't be. Males will predominantly work at the most physically demanding jobs. As a result, males will live an estimated 20% less years than a woman. Males make up 93.7% of the US prison population, and despite popular opinion, men are sexually assaulted more than women. And I've got the link here, opinions.clovistar.com/privilege. And so I was just pointing out, all these women are complaining about their lack of privilege, or their suffering, or, their lack of respect. I don't know what they're really protesting. I've got glimpses of it here and there. Mostly they think they're still victims in society. And I just disputed that. And so I said, it's one thing to claim bullshit, it's a whole other thing to prove it. And so she says, I think you'd be happy to know I don't agree with circumcision, and none of our children have been circumcised. Likewise, neither has my boy. So that aside, humans are not the only species where women live longer. Childbearing is extremely hard on the human body, and most women I know work. I don't believe it's job related. Even men with office jobs have lower life expectancy. I'm not saying men aren't sexually assaulted, yet 1 in 4 women will be sexually assaulted in their lifetimes. And she's got this article from Scientific American, Why Women Live Longer. And then I say, I find your opinion to defy science and data. I do not agree. And so something that I posted underneath here was deleted. I'm not sure what it was. But anyway, I followed up here before this whole conversation disappeared. I spent hours working on this with her, 2 hours total, coming up with data and going back and forth in this discussion and listening to her and this other guy telling me that my facts are bullshit. And so then at the end it was deleted, and I'll show you that in just a second. And I said, I find your opinion to be of that same category, but I put my opinion out there to be criticized publicly. I welcome it. I said that sexual assault claim is a myth. I addressed it with facts and sources in my article. And then there is this from a renowned feminist scholar on the subject. And that's from Christine Hoff Summers. She dispels these myths about sexual assault. I said males are also 20 times more likely to die at work from a work-related injury. This link is for the men over 20 times likely to, than women to die at work. And I also got government studies here at the bottom of that, for that. And then I've got this Time magazine study, CDC rape numbers are misleading. That one goes into the depths of how the CDC tested these people or polled these people for answers over the phone. They didn't, do a poll on prison inmates. Prison inmates are the highest source of victims in rape cases in the United States, period. I mean, more prisoners get raped in prison than anywhere. And that's just rapes. I mean, there's 215,000 rapes in prison of men. And that's not including all sexual assaults. That's just rape. That's just penetration. There's probably 1 million sexual assaults a year in prison. If you combine them all, if you combine all the different categories that the CDC lists for rape, and you apply that to prison inmates, I bet there's around 1 million. But there's a confirmed 215,000 men that get raped via penetration in prison. And then she says, women are 100% more likely to die giving birth. Women are more likely to suffer from heart disease. I said, and yet women are 20 times less likely to die at work, and the reason why is they work at less stressful occupations. Women outlive men for good reason. I said, and how many women come home in a casket serving in the military? How many women are required to enlist for the war draft? I said, and about sexual assault, I used the conservative number in giving infant sexual mutilation at 33%, but the source I listed on my website says as late as 2010, 58% of boys get circumcised. So boys start out getting sexually assaulted against their will. I mean, seriously, how many boys would sign up for that themselves? So they are forced into sexual mutilation. Then in life, 47% of rape cases, non-prison rape cases, are men. Then out of the 2.1 million prison inmates, 93.7% are men. And 215,000 men that are inmates in prison get sexually assaulted. And I gave this reference. And I said, this male privilege is bullshit. And then I say, but hey, let's exclude the millions of boys that get sexually mutilated when they are babies from sexual assault. They don't matter, right? And yet still, more men than women get sexually assaulted each year. Yet then you add those babies that get their penises shredded, and then you have no comparison. And there was something that was deleted. I put in here the Jewish rabbis that first mutilate a child's penis and then suck the blood off of it. And there's been hundreds of these cases where a baby has gotten herpes from a Jewish rabbi sucking his penis after he was circumcised. And I'll show you that in just a second. In fact, I'll put that on another blog post, and I'll link to it on this video. And then I tried to follow up, but that's when I realized the post had been deleted, and it wouldn't let me post this. I said, so I did the research on it. Yes, 100% of the people who die from childbirth are women, like you said, but that equates to 600 deaths a year in the USA. And that's from the CDC. Now, for work-related injuries, 19,136 total from this 1990 study. 1,453 of them were women, and 17,683 were men in this study from the 1990s. And I posted the study from the Gov, from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And then I put more information here at Wikipedia for more recent numbers on that. But yeah, that's showing basically that men are roughly 20 times more likely to die at work than women, because they work more physically demanding and stressful occupations. Now, when people say that my facts are bullshit, and then I prove my facts are not bullshit, and they delete the facts that I posted, that kind of irritates me. So that's why I went and recorded this before it gets lost, never to be found again. I'll show you just a few more things. They don't like it when I prove them wrong about feminism, because feminism is so utterly important. It's like the pinnacle of their existence. But 2 more babies are stricken with herpes after ritual, ultra-Orthodox Jewish oral blood-sucking circumcision in New York City. So these babies first get sexually mutilated, their penises get chopped up, they're bleeding, and then these rabbis suck their penises and give them herpes. And this has happened hundreds and hundreds of times. Genital herpes. These babies, before they're even able to walk, have genital herpes because of this sick ritual. This practice on boys only. And one thing that I explained to her is that, and she's like, well, I wouldn't call it sexual assault. I might call it body modification. Body modification? No, it's sexual assault. And if you look at any of these human rights organizations, like these ones in Africa that talk about female circumcision, they label it as sexual assault or sexual mutilation. They don't call it body modification. So if it's sexual assault or sexual mutilation for a woman, for a female in Africa, it's the same damn thing here in the United States. So anyway, the facts are not favorable to women being victims anymore. It's utter bullshit. And they just have to face the facts.